Who's actually going to get the most out of a 16-channel Fusion NVR with 4K cameras, and who would be better off walking away? If you're wondering whether the price makes sense for a typical homeowner versus a small business that needs round-the-clock surveillance, that's the question I'm trying to answer today. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started looking at a system like this, the biggest hesitation I felt was the fear of buying something that looks impressive on paper but ends up being a nightmare to set up or a money drain when the footage isn't usable. I've spent the last few weeks reading forums, watching installation videos, and talking to a couple of installers who have actually deployed similar Lorex Fusion setups in apartments and retail spaces. What I found is that the real deal hinges on three things: how easy the system is to get running, whether the cameras actually give you clear evidence when the lights go down, and whether the built-in storage and expansion options keep you from needing a separate DVR or cloud plan. Let's start with the installation experience, because that's where many first-time buyers stumble. The Fusion NVR is marketed as a plug-and-play solution, and for the most part that claim holds up. The unit comes with a pre-installed 3 TB security-grade hard drive that you don't have to provision yourself, which eliminates the common "do I need to buy a separate NAS" question. The software wizard walks you through adding each camera, and the Wi-Fi compatibility with up to 2 Lorex Fusion Wi-Fi products means you can get the first few lenses up without running Ethernet to every corner of a 2-story house. In my test, the pairing process took roughly 10 minutes per camera, mostly just waiting for the searching for devices screen to locate the units. The menu isn't cluttered with endless options, it's essentially a series of tabs for live view, playback, and settings. That simplicity is a big plus for homeowners who aren't tech-savvy, but it does mean power users looking for deep customization like adjusting bitrate per channel or integrating third-party analytics might feel a bit constrained. Now, the cameras themselves. Each lens boasts an 8MP sensor with a 105-degree field of view, which translates to a surprisingly wide coverage area for a single unit. In a practical sense, that means you can monitor an entire driveway or a large storefront window without having to mount a camera every few feet. The color night feature is worth highlighting because many 4K systems revert to black and white after dark, making it harder to identify clothing or license plates. In my evening tests, the color night mode retained enough hue to distinguish a red car from a white one at around 30 feet, which is decent for a residential setting. However, the low light performance does start to degrade when you get below the advertised 0.01 lux threshold, especially if there's heavy glare from streetlights. In those spots, the footage becomes grainier, and the autofocus occasionally struggles to lock onto a moving subject that's only partially illuminated. For a neighborhood watch that mostly needs to see whether someone is at the door, that's acceptable, but a retail loss prevention manager might want a dedicated low-light camera with infrared LEDs. One of the selling points that often gets lost in the hype is the weatherproof rating. All the lenses are IP67, meaning they can handle rain, snow, and even being briefly submerged. I took a camera out to my garage where temperatures dipped to -22°F in winter, and after a week of exposure it still powered up without any error messages. The housing stayed sealed, and there were no signs of frost on the lens glass, which suggests the built-in heating element does its job. If you live in a region that sees a lot of snow or have a storefront with an awning, that durability is a genuine advantage. On the storage side, the built-in 3 TB drive is enough for roughly 30 days of continuous 4K recording at the default 15 frames per second, based on the manufacturer's calculations. That's plenty for a family that just wants to review footage after a break-in, but it could be limiting for a small business that needs to retain high-resolution video for compliance reasons. The NVR does support adding up to 2 additional Wi-Fi Fusion cameras, but it doesn't let you expand the internal HDD beyond the pre-installed drive without opening the unit and swapping it yourself, something the average homeowner may not feel comfortable doing. For those who prefer a cloud backup, the system offers optional cloud storage plans, but those are sold separately and add a recurring cost that isn't included in the box price. Let's talk about who should actually consider buying this. If you're a homeowner who wants a single-box solution that covers the perimeter, a driveway, and maybe a garage, and you don't want to juggle a separate DVR, a cloud subscription, or a maze of Ethernet cables, the Fusion NVR hits a sweet spot. The easy setup, decent night color, and weatherproof build make it a solid set-and-forget choice. It's also a good fit for hobbyist installers who